So a murderer is on the loose, a murderer and a violent offender. Once again, the Justice Secretary's strongest ever checks have been a resounding failure. And once again, there's a manhunt underway. Precious police resources are being wasted to fix calamity's latest cock-up. And where is the Justice Secretary? The Ministry of Justice seems to lose its Secretary of State as much as it does its prisoners. Madam Deputy Speaker, has his aunt taken him to the January sales to find him a new suit, just in case he gets let loose on PMQs again? Let me ask the Minister instead, why was someone who robbed and brutally killed a man by bashing him on the head with a brick, a man who led a prison riot and attacked prison officers repeatedly, deemed safe for open prison? Why, as we've just learnt, did it take 48 hours for the police to raise the alarm? How many other murderers are there in open prisons? How many more mistaken releases have there been since the Justice Secretary last came clean? Once again, the safety of the public is being compromised by the breathtaking incompetence of his department. And well, what a Christmas it's been for the Justice Secretary. On Boxing Day, he said he was delighted to welcome into Britain an extremist who hates our country. The following day, it was revealed he'd invited a disgraced ex-Labour politician convicted of spreading homophobic smears to his official swearing-in as Lord Chancellor. Days later, he paid an Islamist double murderer thousands in compensation, alongside hundreds of thousands in legal fees, much to the Justice Secretary's own colleague's spouse. Then the Prime Minister's mentor, a leading KC, who clapped him into Downing Street, slammed his shameful plan to slash jury trials, and then, to top it all off, on New Year's Day, we learn that these prisoners have been let loose. Well, Happy New Year from the Justice Secretary. It's little wonder that in his first interview of 2026, he said he was seeking divine retribution. Sorry, he meant to say divine intervention. Well, with more of this, God help us all.
Minister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm afraid it's a new year, but the same sad old Jenrick. The honourable gentleman clearly hasn't done his homework. He doesn't seem to know the difference between releases in error and absconds. This is a member who wants to be the Lord Chancellor and the next Leader of the Opposition. He is deliberately muddying the waters here to suit his own agenda. And whilst seeing the deep-rooted issues caused by years of chronic underfunding and mismanagement by his government play out, the crisis that our prisons face today was built up over 14 years, and the Tories are the chief architects. This didn't happen overnight, Madam Deputy Speaker. It was not inevitable. It was the choice of the party opposite, made again and again for 14 years. They abandoned their posts and put public safety at risk by allowing our prisons to reach bursting point. He talks about public safety. They left our prisons at breaking point, with not enough room to lock up any dangerous criminals. If it weren't for the decisive action that this government took, the police would have been unable to make any arrests, courts would have ceased to function, and there would have been a breakdown of law and order, unlike anything we have seen in modern times. Those who abscond face serious consequences. We take our responsibilities very seriously, and that is one of the reasons that there has been a dramatic fall in the number of absconds over the last 20 years. It is one of the success stories that the Tories actually have in government, and he should celebrate that, because elsewhere their record is much less rosy. As they were packing their bags to leave office, temporary release failures were hitting a 13-year high under their watch. The prison system was in absolute chaos, and they presided over 17 releases in error a month in their last 6 months in office. They said that they were the government of security and safety, where they oversaw violent crime and crumbling courts and prisons. Madam Deputy Speaker, in order to cover up for their failures, they covertly let out 10,000 prisoners early as part of their chaotic early release scheme. The Tories claimed to be the party of law and order. Instead, their legacy was lawless disorder. And now they have the barefaced audacity to come to this House and make demands as if they'd never been in government, as if they had never, ever oversaw a crisis in our criminal justice system. And what is the member opposite's solution to this crisis? To do nothing, to ignore the evidence that places people in open conditions to help them prepare for life outside and reduce their risk of reoffending, to turf people out of prison with no support and hope that everything just turns out okay. They are not serious people. They are not serious or ready for government. They have no solutions to the problems that they created.
Select Committee Chair Andy Slaughter.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In the light of these escapes from a Class D prison, will the government look again at the policy and process for moving prisoners to open prisons earlier in their sentence as a consequence of prison overcrowding? Does this legacy of the previous government mean prisoners may be located to prisons because of the space available rather than the suitability for the type of offender?
So I thank the Chair of the Select Committee for his question and for the probing here. He will be aware that in order to deal with the crisis and prison capacity that the Tories left us, this is what we had to do. This was a policy that began under the Conservatives in terms of moving prisoners to open prisons. And typically, they tried to keep quiet about it when they were in government. We have been open and transparent. We have looked at exactly how we've done this as part of our strategy to deal with overcrowding. And thankfully, through our sentencing bill, which the Tories are trying to wreck, by the way, we will ensure that our prisons never ever reach breaking point again. But open prisons are part of the course for rehabilitation. They are part of ensuring that we make better citizens rather than better criminals, and it is part of successive governments that these have worked and operate effectively.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. To ask the Secretary of State for Justice if he will make a statement on the implications for public safety following the admission that 2 dangerous offenders, including a convicted murderer, have absconded from HMP Lay Hill on New Year's Day.
Minister Alex.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and a Happy New Year to you and all in the House. On the 1st of January, 3 prisoners absconded from HMP Lay Hill, an open prison. Mr Thomas, Mr Washbourne and Mr Armstrong. This was discovered during routine roll checks and their absence was followed up immediately. On the 3rd of January 2026, the police issued a public appeal to assist with their recapture. One of the prisoners, as you have stated, Madam Deputy Speaker, Aaron Thomas, has since been arrested and is scheduled to appear before magistrates today. He will then be returned to closed conditions. The other individuals remain unlawfully at large and police are actively pursuing them. The Government takes every abscond seriously. In line with the Prevention of Absconds policy framework, the Prison Group Director for HMP Lay Hill has commissioned a review. This review will be completed within 20 days. These individuals had been moved to open conditions at different points in 2025 after recommendations made by the Independent Parole Board. There was no recent intelligence regarding a potential abscond by these prisoners. When it comes to an offender serving a life or an IPP sentence, like these prisoners are, a transfer to open conditions will only be approved following a recommendation by the Parole Board other than in exceptional circumstances. Before making a recommendation, the Parole Board conducts a thorough risk assessment of the offender's risk of harm and risk of absconding. At the time that these risk assessments were completed, the prisoners were deemed suitable for open conditions. We are continuing to work with and engage with the victims and the victims' families, either through the Victim Contact Scheme or via the police where relevant. Currently, we have made contact with 2 victims through the Victim Contact Scheme.